Friends, we are going to begin. We're about to begin the services for Mr. Julian Levy. I want to welcome those of you who are online to watch the service. If any of you locally have a cell phone or any other type of noise-making device, please make sure that they're turned to the off position at this time. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Jeffrey Weil from Ezra Habonim, the Niles Township Jewish Congregation.
In the Bible, when something calamitous would happen, something shocking or something very sad, our biblical forebears would do a kriya. They would do a tearing. They would tear their garments, in a sense, exposing their vulnerable hearts. And we do that now. The mourners of the deceased perform the act of kriya. So I know Julian's brother Bob is with us remotely, and his family, Paulette, Beth, and Heidi, are here, so I ask you to rise at this point. The blessing that we say, which you can repeat after me, just those who are doing Kriya can rise, acknowledges God as the Dayan Ha'emet, the judge of truth. So please repeat after me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Dayan Ha'emet. We say Amen. Amen. Okay, you can tear now. Adonai, ma adam v'teda ehu, ben enosh vatechashvehu. Adam lehevel dama. Yamav ketzel over, baboki yatzitz v'chalaf la'erev, Milaire v'yavesh. Tashev enosh adaka v'tomer shuvu v'nei adam. These are the words of the psalmist saying, Adonai, eternal God, what are we that you have regard for us? And what are we that you would even be mindful of us? We're all of us just a breath. Our days are a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning it shoots up and is renewed, and in the evening of our lives it fades and withers. But God, you cause all of us to return unto dust, saying, Shuvu b'nei Adam, return, O mortal ones. Would that we were wise, and would that we understood whither we go from here, for when we die, we carry nothing with us, not our glory, not our riches. But God, you say, Shmor tam urei yashar, mark the wholehearted, behold the upright. Those are the ones who shall find shalom, who shall find peace, basof, in the end. And friends, today we gather to remember one who was surely wholehearted, and he was upright, and he was helpful, he was kind, he was sweet, he was a gentleman, he was a gentleman, Julian Levy. His memory for blessing. Adonai mi agor ba'ohalecha, mi ishkon bahar kodshecha, holek tamim ufoel tzedek, v'dover emet bilvavo. Eternal God, who may abide in your house? Who may dwell in your holy mountain? It is those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth. It is those who will not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them. It is those who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God. It is those who give their word and do not retract their word, come what may. It is those who would not exploit others or would not take bribes. Those who live in that way shall never be shaken. Those who live in that way shall be steady and reliable. like Julian was. You'll find in your handouts the 23rd Psalm. I will read it first in Hebrew, and then we'll recite it together in English. Adonai, ro'i lo exar. Bin otesha yarbitzeni, al meit menuchoti nahaleni nafshi yeshuvev. Yancheni v'ma'aglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech b'geit samavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha hema inachamuni. Ta'aroch lefanai shulchan neged sorai. Dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Ach tov v'chesed yudefuni kol yemei chaya. V'shafti b'veit Adonai le'orach yamim. Together, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's a very well-known chapter of Kohelet or Ecclesiastes that we know well from song that expresses this idea that everything in life unfolds as it should, that there's a time for everything. Sometimes things happen in our lives where we might really doubt that things are unfolding in a way that they should unfold. Why does this happen? Is there really a right time for this or for that? And yet our tradition does, in a sense, push us or nudge us in that direction to have that sort of faith. La kol zman, ve'et l'chol chefetz tachat hashamayim. For everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot that which is planted, a time to tear down, a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to grieve, a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time when we must refrain from our embraces, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time for silence and a time to speak. And so this is an appropriate time to speak, sharing words in memory of Julian Levy. Friends, we are now at the very, very end of the book of Genesis in our weekly Torah reading that we read every Shabbat and throughout the week. And so we're at the final Torah portion, and we're at the end of the life of Jacob. And as Jacob, the patriarch, is dying, he is blessing each one of his sons and a couple of grandsons as well. These are the heads of the tribes of Israel. Each one individually he blesses. And he blesses none more. Some he says very little about, some more. He blesses no son more than Judah or Yehuda. For Yehuda has emerged as the great leader among the brothers. He did so primarily because he offered to become a servant of Joseph, they didn't know it was Joseph. He was just this great, powerful man in Egypt. He said he'd become Joseph's slave in order to protect Benjamin, the youngest and the most vulnerable brother. He put himself out there, wanting to help in the most dramatic and fundamental way. The other brothers were just standing there. Yehuda stepped forward. Today, we remember and honor and really celebrate the life of another Yehuda, Yehuda ben Shmuel HaLevi. This is the name of Julian Levy. Like that first Yehuda, Julian stepped forward. He was that kind of person. He was always willing. He was always eager to help. Some say that was his primary hobby, just helping. He also, like that first Yehuda, was a solid rock among his people. Whether his people would be his family or his friends and community and the shul as well. And the original Yehuda, Judah, the eponymous leader of the Jews, he dwelled deeply within the heart of our people. And so did Julian. He dwelled within the heart of our people. He was dedicated to the Jewish people, to his synagogue, innately and in a deep way. And finally, just as the original Yehuda achieved wholeness and unity for the family at the time when he stepped forward, that was the great reconciliation of that holy family at that time, Julian Levy was no less dedicated to his family, just as he was dedicated and devoted to friends, to clients, and to so many more. Julian Levy was a good and gentle man. He was a helpful and a kind man, and he will be missed. He was the oldest child of Sam and Rita, older brother to Bob. They lived in that tight-knit South Shore community. Sam, Julian's father, sold shoes, and both Sam and Rita, as well as Julian's extended family, aunts and uncles, were deeply involved in the Jewish community, especially the Jewish war veterans, and B'nai Bazel, the synagogue, and Eastern Star as well. There was an overall community orientation and civic mindedness within that family, and that was something that was certainly passed down to Julian. He graduated from South Shore High School, attended Roosevelt to study accounting. He was a very focused student, and he possessed a strong work ethic throughout his long career as a CPA. He came from a tight-knit family, and one fine day, one of his aunts set him up with a pretty young lady. Her name was Paulette. Julian picked up Paulette in a red Impala. She was impressed by the car, and she says, also by the guy behind the wheel. She was impressed by him too. And wow, she thought, what a nice nephew, taking out someone his aunt had recommended. Nice nephew and a good date. But Paulette might have begun to wonder about that good date because it took Julian months to call again. 3 months, I think. This is because he was focused on his exams. He must have been very, very focused. They did, though, see each other occasionally during that time, for Paulette would go into the restaurants where he was eating, near where I think they were both working, and just kind of like walk on by, just pass by. And I have no doubt that he noticed. Finally, Julian did call Paulette, and that did it. They dated, they married, they moved north, they raised a family, bringing into the world Beth and Heidi. The Levy family, the four of you, the four of them, were central, and they really helped build a truly wonderful and enduring community in this area, in Morton Grove and in Skokie. It was a community of good friends, families having fun together, taking care of each other's kids, playing together, barbecues, wild antics, great memories that are still laughed about today, and will be laughed about and remembered so fondly for many years to come. It was a life really full of family. For Julian married into Paulette's big family, and he was a devoted son-in-law to Ruth and Bernie, and they were all on both sides truly one big happy family. There's something else about Julian. I was unsure how to segue into this next tidbit, so I'm just going to say it. Julian liked to follow fire engines. He would hear the bell or see the engine or hear the siren, and he'd be off in the car, sometimes alone, sometimes with his family in the car, rushing towards the action. This was really, you might wonder why. It was typical Julian. He wanted to help, and he would. He would be enlisted to help do whatever at the scene. And he respected these first responders. He respected firefighters and police officers. He respected all of them and did whatever he could do to assist them in their work. He was, as I said, deeply community-oriented and civic-minded. Paulette will discuss this in a little bit as well. If you wanted to know what was going on in Skokie, You could count on Julian Levy for reliable information. And everybody knew him, citizen, village official, whomever, they always knew him when he came into a restaurant or something, and they're always, of course, glad to see him. It is really no wonder that so many people relied upon him, for he was there, present, ready to help for whomever, certainly for Bob, Rena, and family, and available to his friends as well, anyone. He'd show up to give you a ride. He'd come on over with his tools if you needed some of that sort of help, because it was very, very handy. Moreover, there was always room at the home, the Levy home, and at their table for guests, and he was always eager to pick up a check. This gave him pleasure, helping people, doing solids for people, doing good things for people. He possessed the same sort of relation that's extended to his clients as well. 60 years a CPA. He worked hard for them, and he was deeply devoted to them, and so it is no wonder that he had generations of clients, 2 generations, 3 generations of clients. And he was also reliably helpful to and ever present at Niles Township Jewish Congregation, which has become Ezra Habanim, the Niles Township Jewish Congregation. He was just part of the leadership. I have here their membership application, actually, from all those years ago. By the way, it's right here. This is part of the Levy file, September 3rd, 1974. It has your names and Julian's signature on it. And once they joined. And he was so involved. A litany of services. He was on the Religious Services Committee, on the Housing Committee. Handy as he was, he helped annually to build the sukkah. He was head of the Security Committee at one time, and he was the go-to guy when the alarm went off late at night. I even found proof of this as well in the Levy file, a note saying, first person to call before anyone else, Julian Levy, that has your home number on it. So I'm sorry about that, Paulette. I'm especially sorry about it because I set off that alarm late at night a few times. And one time, as I mentioned to the family, it was after midnight. I had first arrived at Ezra Habanim, Niles Township, and the cops showed up, and I was outside, and Julian sauntered over, and he pointed out at me, and he told the police officers, "Arrest that man." And so they did. They didn't really. But truly, he was helpful, he was present, he was kind, and he cared. And you knew it. And that's why so many of you are here today. You knew it just from his affect. You knew it from just how he presented himself in the most natural way. You could sense his kindness truly in his eyes, in his bearing, the way he made eye contact. It was in his voice even. He was a kind man, a mensch. And as much as Julian Levy did for others, volunteering, working, he was primarily devoted to this family. He never missed a significant or even minor event in his daughters' lives, although ironically for a CPA, he could never manage to explain new math to them. And on Saturday evenings, he and Paulette would go out. And as Paulette would be getting ready, Julian would take Beth and Heidi out for some fast food. They'd then go pick up the babysitter, and then they drive home, and Julian and Paulette, they would go out. Saturday night, date night, social night with their very long-running couples club and with others. Most importantly, for 57 years they did this. They were just simply together on those nights and throughout the decades, socializing together, raising 2 daughters together, traveling together, taking cooking classes together, baking banana bread, I think, together recently, heading to family events, hosting family, coming to shul together, 57 years of life together. Paulette said the other day that Julian made her a more caring and a better and a nicer person, and Paulette made Julian a better and a nicer dresser, and much more, I'm sure. It was a win-win. And yes, they possess different interests and talents, accounting and art. And you can see Paulette's art on the cover of these handouts, which is so impressive. They complemented each other and truly helped each other grow. And today is a sad day, but it is also a day to celebrate Julian, and also, very importantly, a day to celebrate the young man whom Julian loved most and respected most, his grandson, Spencer. Today is Spencer's birthday. As your mom, Spencer, said, it's a day to celebrate two good men. A sad day for a birthday, and yet your grandfather and your father and your husband and your brother, uncle, friend, to so many people, he was so deeply admired and celebrated, and he left such a holy example to all of us. Zichrono livracha, may his memory be for blessing. Amen. Paulette.
Julian, the final curtain has come down. Your premiere performance is over. You were awesome. The story of your life was a huge success, a winner, just like you. I applaud you as you leave the stage. The cast rallied around you. The audience cannot stop clapping. This was a long and entertaining run of 81 years, enjoyed by everyone that knew you. Everyone has said the same thing. You were one of the nicest, kindest, most wonderful men. You were true and honest. You were so popular. Everywhere we went, we heard, Levy, over here. You were everyone's go-to guy. If you had a tax question, a home maintenance problem, or needed basic info, the answer was, did you ask Julian? He would make house calls with his briefcase or his toolbox. At parties, he would even take you over your barbecue grill and let you mingle. Julian loved cooking and entertaining for family and friends. His specialties were the best gefilte fish, a recipe that a client finally shared with him, and taking credit for our stuffed 25-pound turkey when he took it out of the oven for our guests of 40. He was a man of many hats. He was one of the youngest masters of the Paul Revere Masonic Lodge in Chicago. He wore a fez of the Madonna Shriners. He was a citizen Skokie policeman and citizen Skokie firefighter. Many of you enjoyed being his guest at the Target range on Citizen FBI Day. For years, at the Skokie's Backyard Bash Rotarian Pancake Breakfast, it was my guy who arose at the crack of dawn to help set up. Relatives and friends would come every year to watch Julian flipping pancakes, then eating them as his guest. He will no longer occupy a seat on the Village Police Commission. Julian loved his career as a CPA and doing tax work. Our whole married life was planned around tax season. Our babies were born before or after tax season. Beth on December 30th, with the incentive of a new company briefcase if this young accountant got the deduction that year. Heidi, on April 28th, arrived after, so her father would be with us. Vacations were planned the same way. A few months ago, after 60 years of accounting, Julian retired. Mary from CJBS, his firm, wrote, in a world where sometimes clients or fellow coworkers just become a number, no pun intended, to Julian, his clients were people that he deeply cared about. He had a personal relationship with them, and that doesn't happen in this day and age. While he may not have been Mr. Technology, he was always very interested in the human side of his clients, and to me, that is really what is important. As a coworker of his for 6 years, he always wanted to know how you were doing. He often made a point to stop by my office to wish me a good night, even though my offices aren't on his path out the door. He was definitely a people person, and I will miss that, and we will miss him. The first child of Sam and Rita Levy, he became a big brother to Bob 7 years later. Proud and loving father of Heidi and Beth, our most precious accomplishments, Julian loved being king in his harem, always delighting in making his girls happy. One day, I said to a daughter, "Stop acting like a princess," and she replied, "We learned from the Queen Mother." Royalty has its problems. I'm sure nobody has ever heard of Spencer before, the highlight of Julian's life. He was Papa's buddy. His world turned for this special guy, our one and only grandchild, the best. As he grew up, we enjoyed being involved in all the endeavors and accomplishments. We were the grandparents recognized at all the ice hockey rinks. Julian and I were two competitive firstborn children, always challenging each other. He had his tax business, and I had my art, but we enjoyed quality time when we were together. Married 57 years, we now come to the end of our fabulous adventures. You were my best friend, my lover, my rock, my sounding board. I loved you so much. We were parents of our two wonderful daughters, the greatest grandson, scuba partners, and travelers. I followed you to too many command performances for business, and you followed me to many bizarre art openings. We had fun, and we loved doing unusual things and just being together. Proud to say we have met with our famous Gourmet Couples Club on the fourth Saturday of each month for the last 52 years, although now it's a quick hot dog in a movie. We have many longtime friends that can boast of 50-plus years. The family all loved him. He was called Uncle Julian by lots of nieces and nephews and their children. Julian took pleasure in being surrounded by family and friends. We will all move forward, carrying Julian in our memories. Peace be with you, my hero. We will all miss you.
Thank you, Paulette. Beth?
Hi. Last night, my mom asked me, what do I remember most doing with my dad? There's not one most. First of all, I have 3 names. Beth Levy, Red, Tyrone, Zach, Willie, Jackson, Onyx, Dudley, Oliver, Paulette, Spencer, Heidi. I used to joke he went through the dead dogs, live dogs, the most important grandkid, my mom, and the other kid until he got to my name. I'm Julian Levy's daughter. I can't count the number of times my dad told me to call or see so-and-so and tell him who you are. I've met many people here just because I've been sent to say, I'm Julian Levy's daughter, Beth Levy. My dad's hobby was helping with the repairs, helping through organizations, helping through his work, and many other forms. My dad did not just join, he was actively involved. His greatest impatience was in not doing. Whether it was a family gathering or an organization event, you cannot say no help needed, just relax and enjoy. He would find something to do, usually starting with offering to refill glasses or get anything for anyone, and grab a handful of whatever nosh was available. Growing up, I was my dad's often unwilling assistant for repairs. Years ago, I asked my dad to let me do the repairs at my home with his supervision and guidance, to not just fix it with me as a tool holder. He did not say, but I think this was one of the most difficult requests I made of him. He agreed and showed up with enthusiasm. One night, I came home and found my sump pump not working. Excuse me. Because of my dad, I keep a spare and parts on hand and was able to install a new one. I proudly took a selfie of my repair job and sent it to my dad. Very early the next morning, he called and started with, "Why didn't you call me? I would have come over and fixed it." My mom talked about our weekend adventures. Those are definitely most memorable. Saturday mornings, he took Heidi and me to his office. He worked downtown in big buildings. We learned about work, working, and work ethic. We also saw the respect and admiration he had for other people's work, no matter what their job. He taught us independence and confidence. After setting us up at our own desks, thank you, the secretaries of past, those desks were not near his office either. He went into his office and worked. Heidi and I would go on our own to explore the office and the entire building. My dad would give us money and send us to pick up lunch. We'd walk blocks through deserted downtown to the deli, order and bring back the food. Sundays were usually spent exploring the city and day trips to art fairs, museums, family events, friend events, antique stores, small towns, going for ribs. We went everywhere. My dad guided by example. He really said what to do except with, "Don't worry about it," which meant he was taking care of it. I'm so very lucky to say there were so many more Mo's. And I was very lucky to say, I'm Julian Levy's daughter.
Thank you, Beth. Heidi?
Nice job, ladies. This is going to be hard to follow. I promised I was going to look out and see everybody because this means the world to him. And I'm supposed to stay on script, but I have to tell you a story that this morning Spencer got up, and this is early for a kid in college, and he got in the shower and he got out and he yelled, "Mom," and you would have thought something was the matter. And I walked into his room and he goes, "Look at here. Papa already tied my tie and left it here for me because Spencer and I don't know how to tie a tie." So Spencer said, "I got up early. I could have slept in because now it's done and I thought it was going to take me a while." So he left even Spencer prepared. I have been told the day I was born, my dad was so excited. He even kept asking the doctor how much longer. I arrived later that afternoon, and my father was thrilled to have another girl. He was smiling from ear to ear and then said to my mom, "I'll be back," and he left. The story has something to do with his brother, my Uncle Bob, in the Army Reserves. The point is, he did return. That was the last time my father left my side until now. Julian was a devoted husband and father who loved each of his girls very much. He was a son, a brother, a nephew, a cousin, a son-in-law, a brother-in-law, an uncle, a CPA, and a guy who made friends everywhere he went. Family and friends were always welcome in his home and around his table. My dad knew the best place for breakfast, deli, and dives. He could grill at home or make reservations at the newest hot restaurant. He knew that fries were better well done. The fun for him was sharing it with the people he loved. He always had jumper cables and plenty of tools. If he could not fix it, he had a guy. If you were in a bind, he was the man to call, especially if you had your fake ID taken away. 19 years ago today, my father became Papa. By far his greatest pleasure and joy. He called Spencer his buddy. Papa bought trains, Legos, and puzzles. He cheered for Spencer on hot fields and in cold ice rinks. He never missed a grandparents' day or visitor's weekend at Cahuaga. Most recently, he proudly wore his Wisconsin grandpa shirt, all for his guy, Spencer. Spencer and I were lucky to have this special and close relationship with Papa. We will miss sharing our lives with him. We know he loved us very much, and we will continue to love him.
Le'da hi reshit, uftirat tachlit hachaim k'masahem, kahalicha tzmicha mishalav v'shalav. Birth is a beginning, death a destination, life a journey, a going and a growing from stage to stage. And now, friends, the journey of the life of Julian Levy has reached its sad conclusion. As we say with Job, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehishim Adonai mavarach. The Lord has given, the Lord has taken. Blessed be the name of the eternal God. And so, O God, into your care we entrust the spirit of Julian Levy, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain all of us, O God, that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead for us, knowing that that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, God, will be with us and are with us as a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our lives and our hope in eternity. We now please rise for the memorial prayer, El Milaire Rachamim. El Milaire Rachamim, Shochein Pamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Harakia Masirim, Et Nishmat, Yehuda ben Shmuel Halevi, Shahalach Le'olamo. Ba'al Harachamim Yastirehu, V'seter Kenafav Le'olamim, V'yitzor B'tzor HaChaim Et Nishmato. Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanuach B'shalom, Amishkavo, V'nomar. Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence with the holy and the pure who glow like the light of the heavens to Julian Levy, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence and within the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And we say, Amen. You may be seated.
This concludes our service here in the chapel. The interment will take place immediately at Memorial Park Cemetery in Skokie. Following the interment, the family will be sitting Shiva at the Levy residence, 8849 Kenneth Terrace, Skokie, today until 5 p.m., on Saturday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., on Sunday, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. Please note, to attend Shiva, masks and vaccinations are required. The family has also asked that memorial contributions be made to Ezra Habonim, the Niles Township Jewish congregation. For those of you who are going to be going into procession with us, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. The sticker should be placed in the front passenger side of your windshield. We would also ask that you have your bright headlights and flashing hazard lights on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on many of the cars that will be in the procession. As we drive in procession today, please drive as closely as safety permits to the car in front of you. We want to seek to avoid any large gaps or spaces in the procession, particularly as we go through intersections. Our live stream is going to conclude in just a moment. Those of you who are online will be able to pick up the live stream again in approximately 35 minutes. This time, We're going to ask everyone to rise. The following individuals have been selected to serve as pallbearers: Spencer Stone, Stephen Steinberg, Lori Smith, Joe Alexander, Fred Schomer, Marshall Weinstein, Jay Zeit, Neil Gervitz, and Joey Singer. Would ask everyone to stay risen as Mr. Levy, the clergy, the family are escorted from the chapel, and all pallbearers to step forward, please. Pallbearers, can I ask you to please, pallbearers, can I ask you to please follow the casket and get outside.
Gibor, Le'olam Adonai, Rav Hoshea. Atah Gibor. Atah Gibor, Le'olam Adonai, Rav Hoshea. V'chalkei Chaim v'chesed. V'chei hakol b'rachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofei cholim v'matir asurim. V'mekayem emunaton b'shnei afar. Mi chamocha ba'al geburot u'bidom ela. Melech memit u'mechayei u'matzmiach Yeshua. Baruch atah Adonai. Zotea b'tochenu chayei olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher yetzer etchem b'tzamo. Thank you. V'zan v'chalkel etchem b'tshuvo. V'hemit etchem badin. V'natah b'tochechem chayei olam. Baruch atah Adonai Dayan ha'emet. We place earth in the grave of a Jew as a symbol and an enduring hope, the enduring Jewish hope in a better future for all humanity. This is Afar Mehar Hazitim, earth from the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. Komo Yavo B'Shalom. May Julian Levy come to his eternal home, B'Shalom, in peace. Amen. Esa enai el harim me'an yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shemayim ba'aretz. Al yitain lamot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yareach b'layla. Adonai yishmorcha mikol ra, yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai yishmor tzedcha v'hoecha me'atav yad. I lift my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from the eternal God, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector does not slumber. Behold, the Shomer Yisrael, protector of Israel, neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian and protection at your right hand. May the sun not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. We'll recite Mourner's Kaddish in a moment. After reciting Mourner's Kaddish, I'll ask those who are here to support the mourning family to recite words of comfort, traditional words of comfort. You'll recite that after me. And after that, it is traditional to put 3 measurefuls of earth into the grave. Some use the back side of the shovel, perhaps for one of the measures of earth pushed into the grave to demonstrate that this is no ordinary act, but really an act of deep, deep sorrow. It's also customary to put the shovel back into the mound of earth for the next person to take it as an affirmative act for herself or himself. O God, help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love that is stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near, and who cling unafraid to thee trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us into your keeping, as we now recite Mourner's Kaddish. Do you have the Mourner's Kaddish? Here, you can use this. Whenever you're ready. Okay. Yeah, in the back. Yeah. Okay. Yitgidal v'yikida shemei rabba. Amad divra chirute v'amlich machute. B'chaychon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'miru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach la'alam ulamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar v'yit daleh v'yit halal shemei dekudesha barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechamata. Da'amiran be'amat v'maru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemayim. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. O seh shalom bimromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Now please, all the friends and supporters of the mourners who stand here at the front, recite these words after me, speaking to them. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. Now go forth in peace unto life. Okay, you can come forward now to put the earth into the grave. The four of you. Anyone else? Good friends? You either side. Others are welcome to come forward as well, forming lines on either side.
Everyone, please be careful around the grave. Please be careful around the grave. Friends, at this time, our service is concluded. The family should know no more sorrow. Thank you.